Kirkland homeless housing plans prompts a major employer to exit. We are no longer going to be here if you are going to convert this hotel into a homeless complex. What's the deal? Let's get into it. Here we go. As we move through the year, it's no secret that cyber criminals are online and lurking, ready to pounce on unsuspecting Americans. I read news stories of innocent people being taken advantage of all the time. And that's why protecting your online privacy isn't just smart, it's necessary. And that's where Surfshark VPN comes in. Surfshark gives you the tools to shield your devices, block invasive ads, and encrypt your internet activity, keeping the bad guys out of your business. Think of a VPN as your online security system, whether you're browsing at home, using public Wi-Fi, or handling sensitive information. Surfshark wraps your data in a secure, private tunnel. It's like having a digital wall around your home, keeping hackers and snoopers locked out. Let's face it, privacy isn't just about security, it's about freedom. With Surfshark, you can access content from around the world without censorship and without big tech tracking your every move. Right now, Surfshark is offering an exclusive deal for News for Reasonable People listeners. Go to surfshark.com/reasonable for 4 extra months free. Don't wait. Protect your data, defend your privacy, and browse with confidence.
The transportation analytics company Enrich says it no longer is worth it to do business in Kirkland. GOMO's Ryan Sims live there tonight. Ryan, this is a company that's been in Kirkland for nearly 2 decades, so a real bomb dropped here.
It really is. And Michelle, they have hundreds of employees here in Kirkland as well. Yet when the old La Quinta behind me becomes a hotel for the homeless, they say they won't be around to see it open up. Enrich's workers weren't available to comment about this upcoming move to Como. Yet on X, the head of the company made his reasons clear, saying in part, Enrich signed a lease which will move us out of Kirkland, which has been our home for the past 18 years. Why? The city of Kirkland made a decision to put a homeless hotel right across the street from our current headquarters. The stunning announcement met with sympathy from other businesses.
It's the challenge of having employees come into an area where their cars are going to be broken into and where leaving at night is a scary
deal.
As part of the plan, this abandoned motel will be
100%
transitional housing for the homeless, all as neighbors say they were kept in the dark about the entire thing.
They don't want to really know anything about what the neighbors thought. They just basically slammed it in here.
It means theft. It means car break-ins and bikes being stolen, and anything that's left out is going to be missing.
Enrich was one of Kirkland's top employers. While a move-out date hasn't been made public, at least not yet, nearby businesses predict the Kirkland economy will take a hit.
You're going to remove the tax base. You're going to remove the people who can remove. And it just basically the area will slowly deteriorate.
Got to mention this too. Como did email and call Plymouth Housing for comment. We wanted to see what kind of dialogue, if any, has taken place between Plymouth and Enrich. We didn't hear back. It's a Saturday, so we'll definitely try again on Monday. Got to also mention that this comes about a year after the city of Kenmore canceled a Plymouth housing facility, citing similar worries about crime and safety. Coming to you live
concern
tonight. Ryan Sims, Como News.
Let's take a quick look at this. This is a project that I am intimately familiar with. I have a severely disabled uncle, both mentally and physically. He's in a wheelchair and he is meningitis of the brain. And so my grandmother, when she was alive, used to drive him up from Longview, Washington, and to this complex, and they would stay at La Quinta Inn. It's been vacant for years and years and years now. And they're going to go ahead and the city of Kirkland, King County, decided, we're going to jam this homeless complex down the throats of, residents in Kirkland. And this is, it's standard operating procedure for something like King County to do. King County has to reach out to cities within King County and say, hey, we need you to take responsibility for this complex. We're going to buy this. We're going to turn it into homeless complex, and it's going to be, no barrier or low barrier, meaning you've got a bunch of lunatic drug addicts in this complex. And one of the crazy things is I'll show you where it is. So it's right here where red is. I grew up on Yarrow Point right in here, and I also grew up in a home here during high school. That's where I lived, literally a mile or something away. And then this is Kirkland, kind of in between Kirkland and Bellevue. Zooming in a little bit here, you've got the Chestnut Montessori School, and you've also got the East Side Preparatory School, prep school. Now, one of my nieces plays volleyball at a private school, and they compete against this East Side Prep. And I was at a volleyball game, probably a couple of months ago, and this whole thing has been ongoing. And the controversy here that, hey, let's just put a homeless complex next to some businesses and a high school and a Montessori school should work out fine. It's going to be all good. And the city is just jamming it down everybody's throats, including this CEO who stood up and said, no, we're out of here. We're out of here. But I was watching this volleyball game, JV volleyball. My niece is a junior. And I was thinking, all right, so a bunch of homeless guys on drugs going to be in close contact with these 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. I'm sure it'll work out fine. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. They'll keep an eye on those homeless guys. I'm sure they will. No. It's just a recipe for disaster. And if I am a parent to one of those children, I'd say, no. And if I'm a business owner, I'm hell no. Hell no. Because you don't want the garbage next door to you. You don't want the drugs. You don't want the stolen goods. You don't want the assaults. You don't want the people screaming at the trees, screaming at the clouds. You don't want the sexual assaults. You don't want everything that goes along with it. In recent years, we've had a homeless not encampment, but a homeless complex here in Bellevue. It is just over my shoulder by probably a mile and a half. The city bought up a Silver Cloud Inn, I think it was called, converted it. And so now on my way into work, every now and then I'll see somebody pop up a tent and I'll be hanging out in a tent, even though they have this housing because they need a place to go do drugs. And then in the morning, I'll see people crashed out on the sidewalk, just, typical homeless nonsense. They're out of their minds. And I understand they need a place to go too, I guess. But how about a treatment center somewhere? How about that instead of just this housing first thing? Put them in housing. It'll all work out. The addition of a soon-to-be permanent housing facility for the homeless is causing a Kirkland business to move out of town. Brian Mistel, I think that's how you pronounce his name. This week, Enrich signed a lease which will move us out of Kirkland, which has been our home for the past 18 years. Why? Well, Kirkland government made a decision to put a homeless hotel right across the street from our current headquarters in the backyard of East Side Prep, and next door, we'll get the whole thing here, and next door to Burger Master. Burger Master is an iconic Seattle restaurant. And there's one in Bellevue, and I've eaten at that Burger Master many, many times. I have been into this hotel dozens and dozens of times with my uncle and my grandmother over the years. They would drive up from Longview, and we'd visit with them, and they'd stay in that hotel. And now it's being turned into a homeless complex. No drug testing required, no treatment required, and no real supervision on site. Check. That sounds like a good game plan. Let's just go with that. I'm sure it'll be fine. Remember those 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls? Yeah, walking around. Yeah, because there's a prep high school right there. Never mind the elementary girls. I mean, you know what I mean? Where this experiment has happened before in King County, crime rates have risen since, according to reliable data, 70% of homelessness is the result of drug addiction and or mental health issues. I bet you it's higher than that. And that's per Jonathan Cho. I bet you it is 90%, 90+%. And why do I say that? Go out into a homeless encampment and you tell me the sanity of the folks that you're going to encounter there. You tell me what that looks like. It ain't pretty, right? It ain't pretty. When I attended the city council meeting to speak out on this issue, Kirkland government refused to let anyone speak. Previous mayor once told me years ago that Enrich was the 5th largest employer in Kirkland. I have no idea what we're now. We've grown, but bad public policy has consequences. Bad public policy has consequences. Oh, we're losing an employer. Well, that's not good. That's not good. Employers can move. We are. If the local government will listen to its citizens and their employers, they will probably find other places to locate. You know where they're locating to? Bellevue, South Bellevue. I mean, yeah, what do you say, right? What do you say? But, the King County rams down these mandates. We need to fill X amount of people in X amount of, they got to try and work on the homeless problem, the whacked out drug problem. They've got to try and work on that, but their approach to it, and I get it, but their approach to it is oftentimes, let's just see if we can slide in a hotel. I hope the natives don't say anything. Hope they don't say much. So you've got this huge conflict going on, right? I mean, it is not a shocker. Here's one of those things, and I think most people get what the CEO is saying. And the CEO basically, I've seen interviews with him, and he has stated, hey, yeah, we had a homeless person come in and raid our refrigerator at the complex next to the La Quinta Inn that's going to be converted. And you've got garbage and you got people wandering around because you've already got, I think, some low income and some homeless supported in the area. I have been to a mini mart nearby. I think it's a Texaco mini mart. And within the last probably 6 months, probably a couple of blocks away, 3 blocks away, and it has gone downhill. It is really bad because you've got all these sketch people and sketch cars. And you're like, where am I? I thought this was Kirkland. I mean, we're damn near in Bellevue here. And you got just a bunch of riffraff running around. And it's because you allow that element to run unmitigated. And you're going to have a bunch of drugs. You're going to have weird people selling weird stuff, trafficking, you name it. There's, this concept of low barrier, meaning, hey, if you're high, come on in, help us out, take a bed. Just this idea that everybody should just get housing no matter what. I think they should earn it. I think they should work for it. And I think they should be put to work. I think they should be drug tested. Go through all those. But the problem is there's enough people who already won't take housing, period, that, not only cities, but counties and state governmental entities, they're struggling with. You've got a whole host of people because build it and they will come. The homeless have come and they're not going away anywhere. But here's a response that I want you to take a look at. And I saw this response on, Brandy Cruz. She has a show called Undivided. And I saw this little going back and forth. How can you take this CEO seriously? G and Ursula. I'm going to call G Whiz. So G Whiz and Ursula slam Enrich's exit. I don't know who G and Ursula is. Jake and Spike back the move. Jake and Spike, I know. Jake's a kid. These are radio personalities. G Whiz and Ursula, no real clue. Spike on Sports from the Bob Rivers show. These are radio personalities. Listened to him over the years many, many times. And I think Jake is decent. I've heard him interviewed once and he seems fine. And Spike, I'm Spike and that's Sports, on Bob Rivers show. Bob Rivers, longtime, radio host in Seattle and just recently passed away. So rest in peace, Bob Rivers. But, this is actually pretty crazy here. Check this out. This is what G Whiz said. Imagine having such a strong opinion about what's going on somewhere, and yet you haven't even opened in that area. talking about the CEO moving their company out because a homeless complex is going to be, converted out of a hotel. Imagine having such a strong opinion about what's going on somewhere, and yet you haven't even opened in that area. Yeah, I can imagine doing that. I'm a business owner too. That's exactly what I would do. Imagine being a high school parent of one of the girls we're talking about. Imagine being a parent of one of the children going to your Montessori school around the corner. Hey, why is that guy lurking in the bushes holding his crotch? What's he doing? He's moving very fast. What's going on here? Imagine that conversation. Daddy, what's he doing? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're lucky if that's what all he's doing in the bushes. How can you really take this person, this CEO, seriously? Gee whiz. Yeah. That's the problem, is your misguided sense of, we should just throw a homeless complex wherever. It'll be fine. They're all good people. They're working towards sobriety. No, they're not. They're whacked out of their mind on drugs, and there's low barrier. There's just come on in, do your thing. And by the way, where did he get his data from when it comes to this topic? You know what? Well, I think he got his data from Jonathan Cho, who has been to probably more homeless encampments than just about anybody else around, other than Andrea Suarez of We Heart Seattle. And I've been to a ton of homeless encampments. And you know what? You don't have to have data. If you've been boots on the ground and you've been to a homeless encampment in Seattle, or a couple or dozens over the years, you don't need data. You know what the drill is. This business owner, this CEO, he knows what the drill is. And you know what he's saying? Get the heck out of Dodge. So, gee whiz, where do you get your mindset from? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? Ursula Rutan, co-host of the G and Ursula show, agreed with G. The CEO of Enrich is an example of weak leadership. Weak leadership? Now, weak leadership, gee whiz and Ursula, would be a leader that just says, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and run our business with all of these whacked out nut jobs coming into our community, and it'll all be good. It'll all be fine. We're not going to really worry about our employees. We're not going to really worry about our ability to recruit. Recruiting, you know what? Our situation next to a homeless, complex, it's going to be fine. Employees are going to want to come in. Do I get out of the car for this interview? I don't know. What's that guy doing over there? I don't know. Yeah. Why is there all this graffiti around? I don't know. Nah, it's a tech company. Super competitive. You got to be able to recruit. And with ridiculous ideas like this, the CEO of Enrich is an example of weak leadership. How many companies have you guys run, G, Wiz, and Ursula? How many companies have you run? I don't know. I don't know anything about you guys. Brian Mistel is not being truthful, and I think is actually shameful that he's blaming a facility for the homeless that hasn't even opened yet for his decision to move. He doesn't need the complex to open yet. He doesn't need that complex to open yet. Anybody with half a brain that isn't just sitting behind a microphone going, oh, anybody with a half a brain doing that can understand what this complex brings. And it's not good. Tell you that much. It is not good. Go anywhere in Seattle, homeless complex. Check it out. See what's going on. See what you think. Go to the tiny encampments. I mean, you've got people walking around that are just literally out of their minds, whacked out of their minds. Are there people trying to get their lives together? Yes, there are. But with the state of how these things go in the state of Washington, there's no real accountability for anybody's actions. There's none. It's like, oh, yeah, you got raped? Sorry about that. That is a tough go. Sorry. That's terrible. Horrible. Knowing this kind of stuff is coming. You just know it's coming. It's coming because that is what you get. So, example of weak leadership? No. I don't think so. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is being detached from reality. City of Kirkland also respond to Mistel's claims in a statement to My Northwest that read in part, "We understand that surrounding businesses and residents have concerns." Love that word. I have concerns whenever a facility like this is cited. Safety of the facility's residents, surrounding businesses, and the community is the city's top priority. No, it's not, because otherwise you wouldn't put it there. You put it somewhere not next to a Montessori school and not next to a prep high school. Yeah. Period. Yeah. The city supports the facility to provide stable and safe homes for up to 102 disabled and chronically unhoused individuals, while also being a positive addition to the community when it opens up later this year. Now, where I struggle with that is that you got three places you can put the homeless and the whacked out drug nut jobs, right? You can put them in jail. I don't believe most of them belong there. They've got mental issues. They need to be in mental institutions. That's number two. Or they need to be in treatment first and foremost. This isn't really handling any of that. This is part of that notion of housing first, where if you just take any, crazy lunatic off the streets and smoking fetty all day long and put them into housing, it's all going to work out. And I know that's a massive oversimplification, but that's literally how harm reduction, all harm, no reduction works. And that's the mindset here. So just throw them somewhere and it'll be fine. So then the question becomes, so those are your three options of where you can put people. So then the question becomes, okay, where do you put them? Well, you've got to be able to do a whole bunch of units at once. And this now becomes a housing issue, right? Got to be able to do a whole number of units at once because you got mass scale, makes more sense. So this is what, 102 units or something like, 102 units. And so you got to buy a hotel. You got to buy an apartment complex or something along those lines. And hotels come up way more often and they make more sense because they're small, they're efficient, you can convert them easily. And so that's what they do. But those hotels are only typically come up in dense, more urban, populated areas. And that's not where these centers should be. But you know what I mean? So I'm saying both sides have a point because they've got to be able to put these homeless people somewhere, but it's not happening. And so, communities rise up and say, no, we don't want this in our community. The one that came into my community here in East Bellevue, it just got run over. We just got run over and, okay, I guess we'll take it in our community. We'll just hope for the best. We'll see what's going on. Up to 65% of these new residents will be people experiencing homelessness from Kirkland or the East Side. I question that right off the get-go. The people I see walking around in my community that I know are from the complex, they ain't from Bellevue. Let's just put it that way. They're not from Kirkland. They're not from Redmond. They're not from nearby communities. They are from out of state somewhere. 100% guaranteed. Vast majority. To keep all parties safe, the city negotiated with King County for various important elements to be included in the agreement regarding the facility. Ursula noted Mistel told the Puget Sound Business Journal in 2020 he was planning to leave in Kirkland in 2025 with no mention of a homeless hotel. Maybe this moved along his time period of, now we're out of here. For sure. You're not going to stay. You're not going to stay with this going on. You can't run a business under this kind of ridiculousness. All right. So yet another move by a big city. All right. This is why we're going to jam down our people's throats. And business says, no. City of Kirkland says, it's okay. I mean, the other people, the schools and whatnot, they're not really going to kick up that much of a fuss. And more than likely, we just don't care either way. We're just going to do this and we'll see what happens. Because that's what they have to do. They've got to be able to put these units somewhere. And unfortunately, Montessori school, private prep school, That does not sound like a positive future outlook for those schooling entities, does it? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.